Are you really still awake? I asked, glancing at Lena as she scrolled through her phone. The screen's glow lit her face in the dark room. She smiled faintly. Just finishing something. Go to sleep, babe. I can't sleep when you're still tapping away, I said, half teasing, half hoping she'd put it down. Who are you texting at midnight? No one important. Her eyes didn't leave the screen. Stop being nosy, I chuckled, though a small sting hit my chest. Nosy? I just care. Big difference. She set the phone aside and rolled toward me. You worry too much. I'm here, aren't I? Yes, you are, I whispered, pulling her close. The warmth of her body pushed my doubts away. For a while, at least. The next morning, over breakfast, I tried to sound casual. So about next year, we could finally start saving for the house. Maybe even set a date, Lena stirred her coffee slowly. A date? Our wedding. You know, the one we keep talking about but never planning, she sighed. You're always rushing. Can't we just enjoy what we have right now? Enjoying is good, I said, smiling to soften the edge in my voice. But I want more with you. Don't you? Her eyes flicked toward me, then away. Of course, just not yet. Later at work, I threw myself into reports and presentations, trying to drown the unease that gnawed at me. Mr. Reynolds passed by my desk, clapping me on the shoulder. Excellent work as always, he said. His voice carried the weight of command, smooth and confident. Thank you, sir, I replied. I just want to keep proving myself, he grinned. That's why you'll go far. Ambition and loyalty, rare combination. I smiled, though his words lingered oddly. Ambition, loyalty. Wasn't that exactly what I was giving Lena too? That evening, Lena sat on the couch watching TV, but her phone buzzed every few minutes. She typed quick replies, lips pressed in a faint smile. Who's got you so entertained? I asked lightly, dropping beside her. She locked the screen instantly. Just a friend. Which friend? You don't know them. Her tone shut the door in my face, yet I forced a laugh. Guess I'll stick to being the boring boyfriend then. You're not boring, she said, leaning against me. You're safe. That's why I love you. Safe. The word sat strangely in my stomach. Later in bed, I tried again. Lena, do you ever picture us 5 years from now? She shifted under the blanket. Sometimes. And? I picture comfort, stability, maybe a family. But, her voice trailed. But what? Nothing. She forced a laugh. Don't look at me like that. You're too serious. I'm serious because you matter, I said quietly. She kissed my cheek and whispered, then stopped doubting. I'm here. Her words soothed me, yet her phone buzzed again on the nightstand. A week later, while we dressed for another company event, I straightened my tie in the mirror. You'll love meeting everyone tonight. Mr. Reynolds especially. He respects people who make an impression. Lena applied lipstick, studying her reflection. Your boss, right? Yes, he's sharp, demanding, but fair. You'll see, she gave a small smile. I'm sure he'll like me. There was something in the way she said it, soft, confident, almost secretive, that made my pulse stutter. I shook it off. Paranoia, I told myself. Nothing more. At dinner, Mr. Reynolds greeted us warmly. And this must be Lena. She extended her hand with a bright smile. It's a pleasure. The pleasure's mine, he said smoothly, holding her gaze a second too long. I laughed to cut through the tension. She's been dying to meet you, sir. I've told her plenty about how much I admire your leadership. Oh? Reynolds arched a brow at her. And what do you think now that you've met me? Lena chuckled. I think you have a very commanding presence. They shared a look I couldn't decode. I forced a grin, clinking my glass. To good company. That night back home, I replayed every glance, every word. Did you like him? I asked. He's impressive, she said casually. I told you. I smiled, though unease spread through me again. You worry too much, she whispered as she turned off the lamp. And in the dark, I held her, clinging to the illusion. I thought I had everything. I was wrong. The restaurant buzzed with chatter and clinking glasses. I placed a hand on Lena's back as we stepped inside. Ready to meet everyone? I whispered. She smiled faintly. Of course, just don't leave me stranded. I'd never, I said, though my chest felt strangely tight. At our table, Mr. Reynolds rose, smiling. There's the man of the hour. And this must be the famous Lena. Famous? Lena laughed softly. I didn't know he talks about me at work. He does, Reynolds said, eyes on her longer than they should have been. All good things. I cleared my throat. Lena, this is my boss. The one I told you about. She extended her hand. I've been curious to meet you. And I you, Reynolds replied smoothly, taking her hand with both of his. Now I see why he never stops working. He has someone like you waiting at home. A chuckle rose around the table. My colleagues exchanged looks, whispers slipping between them. During dinner, I tried to keep the conversation light. So, Reynolds, the last project? Lena leaned forward. Oh, was that the one with the overseas investors? Reynolds smirked. You know about that? She nodded. He mentioned it once. I was curious, so I read up on it. Impressive, Reynolds said, raising his glass. Not many take the time. Their laughter blended private as though I'd missed a cue. I stabbed my steak harder than necessary. One of my colleagues leaned close, whispering, Your boss sure knows how to charm. I forced a laugh. Yeah, he charms everyone. But when I looked back, Reynolds' hand brushed Lena's as he reached for his glass. My chest tightened. Daniel slid into the empty seat beside me, late as always. Sorry, traffic. Did I miss anything? Not much, I muttered. He glanced at Lena and Reynolds. Huh, they seem cozy. They're just talking, I said quickly. Maybe, he murmured. But something feels off, man. Watch closely. I wanted to snap at him, but the unease in his voice mirrored my own. As the night went on, the laughter between Lena and Reynolds only grew. I tried to join in. So Lena, remember when we... Oh, yes, she interrupted, eyes still on Reynolds. But you tell it better, Reynolds chuckled. I doubt it. She has a sharp memory. They shared a smile. I sat back, invisible in my own story. Across the table, two colleagues whispered. I caught fragments. Too close. Bold in front of him. My fork clattered louder than I intended. Lena glanced at me briefly, then returned to her conversation. After dessert, we finally stepped outside. Cool night air wrapped around us, but it didn't ease the heat in my chest. So, I said carefully, opening the car door for her. You and Reynolds seem to get along. She slid in, avoiding my gaze. He was just being polite. Polite? He barely looked at anyone else, she snapped her seatbelt. Stop being paranoid. Paranoid? I laughed bitterly. Everyone saw it. Even Daniel. Daniel's always suspicious of everything. Don't drag him into this. I'm not imagining things, Lena. I saw the way he touched your hand. She turned sharply. Are you really accusing me of something? At a company dinner? Do you know how embarrassing that sounds? What's embarrassing is watching my girlfriend laugh like she's on a date with my boss. Her jaw clenched. You're twisting everything. I was being nice. Isn't that what you wanted? For me to make a good impression. Yes, but not like that. Then maybe you should stop overthinking. Her voice cut through me like a blade. I gripped the wheel, silent, because anything I said would only explode into worse. Back home, she went straight to bed, turning her back to me. I lay there staring at the ceiling, every laugh from dinner echoing in my ears. Paranoid, I whispered to myself. The word stung over and over, but deep inside, the knot in my stomach told me the truth I refused to face. I unlocked the door quietly earlier than usual. Lena? I called out, setting my bag on the floor. No answer. A faint laugh floated down from upstairs. My chest tightened instantly. Maybe she's on the phone, I muttered, forcing my steps light as I climbed. But the laughter grew clearer. Two voices overlapping, intimate. My hand shook on the doorknob. I pushed the bedroom door open. Lena froze, tangled in sheets that weren't ours anymore. And beside her, shirt half open, sat Mr. Reynolds. My throat burned, but no sound came out. Lena gasped. Wait, this isn't what... Reynolds smirked, leaning back casually. You came home early. I stared, my mind blank, my body cold. You... My voice cracked. Lena scrambled, clutching the blanket. Please let me explain. Explain? I whispered, my hands trembling. What could you possibly explain? Reynolds stretched lazily, completely unashamed. Face it. You were never enough for her. The words sliced through me. My knees almost buckled. Lena's eyes filled with tears. Don't listen to him. I didn't mean... Didn't mean? I snapped louder now, though my chest felt like it might split. I walked into my own home, my own bedroom. And this is what I see? Please, she begged, reaching out, but I stepped back instantly. Reynolds chuckled. You should thank me. At least she got to experience what a real man can give. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. For a second, I wanted to tear him apart. But my voice broke instead. You're my boss, he corrected coolly. You'll quit, obviously, Lena sobbed. Stop it! Don't say it like that. Reynolds leaned toward her. Why not? It's the truth. I looked at Lena one last time. Her lips trembled, her eyes wide with guilt, but I couldn't stand there another second. Without a word, I turned and walked out. The air outside hit me like ice. My vision blurred as I stumbled down the steps. My legs barely carried me, senor. Are you all right? A gentle voice called. I looked up to see Mrs. Alvarez, my elderly neighbor, watering her plants. She frowned at my pale face. You look broken, she said softly. Do you need to sit? My lips trembled. No, I just need air. She tilted her head, eyes full of concern. Sometimes life shatters without warning. But breathe, hijo. Don't collapse with it. I swallowed hard, nodding. Thank you. My voice cracked on the words. She pressed a hand to her heart. You don't deserve to look like that. Whoever did this, shame on them. I forced a smile, though tears burned at the edges of my eyes. I'll be fine. Her gaze lingered, but she nodded slowly. Then walk. Don't stay where poison lives. I stumbled into the night, phone buzzing in my pocket. I ignored it. The image of Lena in bed with him replayed endlessly, each second worse than the last. Finally, I answered when it rang again. Her voice burst through, frantic. Please, come back! Let me talk? My laugh came out hollow. What else is there to hear? It was a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. Like this? My voice rose, sharp and ragged. You mean in my house, in my bed? With the man I trusted? Her sobs filled the line. I'm sorry, I swear I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't erase it, Lena. I pressed my forehead to a cold streetlight pole, trembling. Sorry doesn't erase his smirk. His words. Or your silence. I didn't know how to stop it, she cried. I was scared. Scared? My chest heaved. You weren't scared tonight. You laughed with him. You touched him. Don't you dare twist this, she broke down, her voice small. I still love you. The words stabbed deeper than the betrayal itself. I closed my eyes, the ache unbearable. No, if you loved me, this never would have happened. I hung up, my hand shaking so violently I nearly dropped the phone. Daniel called next. I almost ignored it, but his persistence forced me to pick up. Bro, where are you? He asked quickly. Walking. My voice cracked again. Just walking, he hesitated. You sound wrecked. Did something happen with Lena? I swallowed hard, unable to say it, yet the silence told him everything. Oh, God, he muttered. Don't tell me. She was with him, I whispered, barely holding myself together. With Reynolds. The line went dead silent for a moment. Then Daniel's voice, low and furious. That bastard! I knew something was off. I told you. I didn't want to believe it, I said, tears finally breaking free. I wanted to believe she was still mine. She didn't deserve you, Daniel said firmly. And he's filth. You can't let this destroy you. I laughed bitterly. It already has. Listen to me, he insisted. Don't go back there. Don't answer her calls. Come to me if you need to. Just don't stay in that place. My throat ached, but I nodded even though he couldn't see. I can't unsee it, Daniel. It's burned into me, I know, he said softly. But you'll live through it. That's what matters right now. I hung up, my heart pounding, my mind a storm. The night stretched endlessly, and I walked, broken, into its silence. I can't go in there, I told HR over the phone, my voice scraping. I quit, effective immediately. A sharp silence then. Are you sure, Mr. Alvarez? Yes. My hands were still shaking. Tell them I resigned. I can't face Reynolds. She said she was sorry to hear that. I hung up and laughed, a sound with no joy. Daniel knocked and barged in before I could stop him. You didn't, he said, eyes wide. I did. I shoved a box of my desk things toward the door. I can't work under him. You made the right call. He reached for the box as if it weighed nothing. Good riddance. I feel empty. I sank onto the couch. Like I lost everything at once. You didn't lose you, Daniel said, dropping into the chair. You lost a job built on other people's lies. It's not just the job, I muttered. Lena left. She moved in with him. The words soured in my mouth. Daniel's face went hard. That son of a... Don't, I warned. I don't want to hear it. Then what do you want? His voice softened. You need something. Tell me. I watched the ceiling for a long time. Nights came and went without sleep. I opened night after night with cheap liquor and louder music, trying to drown the replay of their laughter. Drink slower, Daniel warned when he came by. You're not healing, you're just forgetting. Forgetting is better than feeling, I snapped, then swallowed. Maybe I'm not strong enough. You are, he insisted. You're here. You can still fight. Fight what? The man who stole my life? The woman I loved? My words were sloppy with whiskey. Fight for yourself, Daniel snapped. Not for revenge. For a life that isn't defined by them. One night I hammered at a bottle until the cap flew. I hate him, I said into the dim kitchen. I hate her more. You can say whatever you want, Daniel said, picking up glass. Just don't let it eat you. It was late. I picked up a framed photo of us from the mantel. Me smiling, Lena leaning into me at some park, sunlight in both our faces. Don't, Daniel said softly. I threw the frame against the wall. Glass exploded. Paper fluttered like wounded birds. My chest felt hollow afterward, but something else moved. Anger, sharp and hot. You're crazy, Daniel said, helping sweep shards. But maybe you needed that. Needed what? I asked, breathless. To break something that pretended to be whole. He looked at me with more calm than I felt. Now what? I don't know. I sat on the floor among glass and memories. I don't know how to be me without her. You can't die in this story, Daniel said, kneeling across from me. You write the ending. The words hit like a physical blow. What do you mean? I mean, this isn't the last chapter unless you let it be. You decide what happens next, not them. But I feel like I'm stuck, I whispered. You're not stuck. You're starting over. He reached out and gripped my hand. I'll help you. We'll clean this up together. Then we build something new. I looked at him, the night feeling brittle but less empty. You really mean that? Of course. You're my brother. He smiled fierce. Now get up. We have to dispose of this mess before Mrs. Alvarez freaks out. You always think of her, I said, managing a weak laugh. Someone has to, he said. And someone has to remind you you're alive. We packed the fragments into a bag and carried them out. The night smelled of rain, and Mrs. Alvarez called through her fence. Everything okay, mijo? Yeah, Daniel called back. All good. Evening walk. Mrs. Alvarez's small kindness felt like a blanket. I wrapped my arms around myself and let the first breath in days fill my lungs. Tomorrow, Daniel said quietly, we start planning. Small steps. Small steps, I echoed, clutching the warmth of his words like a lifeline. For the first time since the door opened on night, I felt a sliver of something that was not pain. I don't even know where to begin, I admitted, staring at the empty notepad on the table. I have nothing left, Daniel. You're wrong, he said firmly. You have me. And you still have your skills. We start there. Skills don't pay rent, I muttered, tossing the pen aside. They will, he insisted. You worked under Reynolds for years. You know how deals are made, how clients think. We'll build something from scratch. We? I raised an eyebrow. Yes, we. You're not doing this alone, I exhaled, running a hand through my hair. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, he admitted. It'll be brutal. But every hour you put into this will take power back from him. Don't you want that? My chest tightened. More than anything. Then decide. Right here, right now. Do you give up or do you fight? I clenched my fists. I fight. The next weeks blurred into endless work. Phone calls, rejected proposals, sleepless nights hunched over numbers. I stumbled often. We're never going to get clients, I groaned one afternoon. We will, Daniel said, unwavering. But maybe we need help. That's when Sophia walked into my life. I heard you're building something, she said, sharp eyes scanning the pathetic little office space we'd rented. Trying to, I admitted. Trying isn't enough, she said bluntly. Why should I even consider investing in you? I swallowed. Because I know the game. I watched Reynolds win clients with charm, but I also saw him bleed them dry. I can do better, fairer, stronger. Her lips curved slightly. You believe that? I don't just believe it, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I'll prove it. Sophia leaned back, studying me. Good answer. But belief without results is noise. Show me progress and I'll show you money. Daniel grinned. Told you we needed her. Don't celebrate yet, she warned. Most men talk big when they're desperate. Few deliver. Her challenge lit a fire under me. Nights turned into dawns as I drafted plans. I failed, adjusted, tried again. When the first small contract came through, I nearly collapsed from relief. We did it, I whispered to Daniel. No, he said, clapping my back. You did it. This is just the start. Sophia reviewed the deal. Not bad, she admitted. You kept your word. I'll back you. You mean, yes, but don't think of me as a savior. Think of me as a partner who demands results. I met her gaze. Then you'll get results. The victories were small at first, but each one carved away a little of the darkness inside me. Every client gained felt like reclaiming a piece of my soul. You're different, Daniel remarked one evening as we locked up. How so? You're standing taller. You're starting to believe in yourself again. Maybe I am, I admitted, almost surprised at the words leaving my mouth. Yet even as my world grew steadier, the shadows of Reynolds and Lena lingered. My phone buzzed with notifications, her social media flaunting dinners, vacations, designer clothes. In every photo, she glowed like she'd won the lottery. Don't look, Daniel advised. I can't help it, I muttered, scrolling anyway. It's like she's performing for me. Like every post says, look what you lost. She's not worth your energy. Maybe not, I said, but the bitterness coiled in my stomach. Then I heard whispers in business circles. Reynolds' firm is bleeding money, one contact mentioned casually over coffee. Bad investments. Reckless expansion. Really? I asked, keeping my tone neutral while my pulse raced. Oh yes. He masks it well, but insiders know. That night, I stared at the ceiling, my heart thrumming with something dangerous but controlled. For the first time, my hatred didn't burn. It chilled, steady and sharp. Daniel noticed the change. What are you thinking? I'm thinking, I whispered. Karma doesn't need to be rushed. His brow furrowed. You're planning something. No, I corrected softly. I'm preparing. There's a difference. Sophia later asked, why do you work so hard? What really drives you? I hesitated, then answered honestly, because every success is proof I don't need them. Because one day Reynolds will look over his shoulder and realize the man he tried to crush is still standing. Her eyes gleamed with interest. Now that's motivation I can invest in. I walked home late, city lights blurring like stars scattered across pavement. My reflection in the glass of a darkened store caught me off guard. I looked different, hardened, focused, alive. Alone in my apartment, I whispered to myself, I'll wait. Karma is patient. And for the first time, the words didn't feel like a plea. They felt like a vow. Another late night? Daniel asked, dropping a takeout bag on my desk. I rubbed my eyes. The contracts won't write themselves. You've been at this since dawn. And tomorrow's another dawn, I said, forcing a grin. He sat down across from me. I'm proud of you, man. You're not the same guy who broke down months ago. I looked at the pile of files. Maybe not, but the scars are still there. Good, he said. They remind you why you're fighting. Sophia entered just then, crisp as ever. Remind him? He doesn't need reminding. He needs refining, I chuckled. What lesson do you have for me tonight? Strategy, she replied, setting her laptop down. Ambition without direction is a firework, bright but short-lived. You want legacy. And how do I get that? By building trust, she said. Reynolds built an empire on charm. You'll build one on honesty. That difference will keep people with you. As if on cue, Marcus knocked and stepped in nervously. Sir, about the meeting with Jensen's group. Don't call me sir, I interrupted. I'm not Reynolds. He relaxed slightly. All right. The group agreed to sign. They said, they believe in you. I blinked. They said that? Yes, Marcus said firmly. They said you kept your word when others didn't. That means something. Daniel smirked. Told you people see the difference. Later that night, I sat with Marcus in the small break room. Why did you join me? I asked. He shrugged. Because I watched you at Reynolds' firm. You treated people like they mattered. He didn't. You trust me that much? Marcus nodded. Yeah, and I won't betray that trust. His words struck deep. I hadn't realized how badly I needed to hear them. Days bled into weeks, weeks into months. Successes piled up. Where once I begged for clients, now they sought me. At a lunch meeting, a former skeptic leaned across the table. You've built quite a name. People say your instincts are razor sharp. I sipped my water. Instincts mean nothing without follow-through. He smiled. Still, we'd like to partner with you. Walking back to the office, Daniel clapped me on the shoulder. They used to laugh at us. Now they line up. I'm not sure I believe it sometimes, I admitted. Believe it. You earned it. That evening, Sophia joined us in the office. Do you see now? She asked. See what? That survival wasn't the goal, she said softly. This, growth, power, respect, is the real weapon. I leaned back in my chair. Feels strange to smile again. Strange is fine, Daniel said. Just don't forget who you are. I laughed quietly. Who am I now? Sophia answered. You're a man who rose from ashes. And ashes don't fear fire anymore. I walked through the office later, watching Marcus and the others work. They weren't just employees, they trusted me. Something Reynolds never earned. Marcus looked up. Everything okay? Yeah, I said, smiling faintly. For once, everything feels okay. But deep inside, I knew this wasn't just survival. Every late night, every risk, every scar, they were all preparation. Preparation for the day I'd stand across from Reynolds again. Did you hear? Daniel asked one morning, slapping a newspaper onto my desk. I glanced at the headline. Reynolds under investigation? Yep, he said, almost grinning. Investors are pulling out. People are calling his deals reckless. I stared at the print. I knew it was coming, but still. Seeing it here feels unreal. Sophia stepped in, coffee in hand. It's not unreal. It's predictable. Men like him rise fast, but they burn faster. Daniel leaned forward. He's not untouchable anymore. His charm isn't enough. I set the paper down. And Lena? Daniel hesitated. You really want to know? Tell me. He pulled out his phone and slid it across the desk. Her posts. Look, I picked it up. No more expensive trips, no glittering parties, just vague captions, dimly lit selfies, and words like, some days are harder than others. A strange heaviness settled in my chest. She looks tired. She looks trapped, Daniel corrected. But don't feel sorry. She made her bed, Sophia's voice cut through. Compassion is fine, but don't let it weaken you. Remember why she left? I nodded slowly. I know, she chose this. She chose him. Later that afternoon, Marcus poked his head into my office. Boss, I heard something from one of Reynolds' ex-clients. Go on, I said. They're furious. He promised returns he couldn't deliver. Now they're threatening lawsuits. Daniel whistled. The dominoes are falling. I leaned back in my chair. It's only the beginning. That night, Daniel and I sat in the break room. Be honest, he said. When you see her posts, does it hurt? I hesitated. Yes, because part of me still remembers the girl who laughed with me at midnight, who planned futures with me. But when I see her now, broken, I remind myself, it's not my doing. It's hers, he studied me. So you don't want her back? No, I said firmly. I want peace, and peace doesn't include her. The next day, Sophia dropped a folder on my desk. Competitors are circling Reynolds' contracts. If we move smart, we can claim some. Are you suggesting we poach them? I asked. I'm suggesting we show them a safer harbor, she replied coolly. People are desperate for honesty now. I opened the folder. Then let's be that harbor. Marcus joined us in the meeting. It feels strange, doesn't it? He said quietly. What does? I asked, watching him fall while we rise. I looked at him. Strange, yes, but also inevitable. That evening, I scrolled through social media again. Lena's latest post read, "Not everything that glitters is gold." Daniel peered over my shoulder. She's practically crying for help. I shut the phone off. Not my problem anymore. You don't believe that, he pressed. I have to, I whispered. Otherwise, the past will drag me under again. Later, Sophia confronted me in my office. You're distracted. I saw Lena's post, I admitted. She folded her arms. And part of me still aches. She leaned closer. Pain is natural. Weakness is optional. Use what you feel as fuel, I exhaled. You're right. No distractions. Just focus. The next week, news spread faster. Reynolds' investors sued him. His empire cracked open. At lunch, Daniel laughed under his breath. It's poetic, isn't it? The man who once told you you'd never be enough, now he's drowning. I met his gaze. And I'm not the one pushing him under. That's the best part, Daniel said. You just kept walking forward. Karma handled the rest. I didn't reply. My thoughts drifted back to Lena, her fading smile, her desperate words. Marcus interrupted softly. You don't have to check on her anymore. She made her choice. I know, I said, but I can't help wondering if she regrets it. Of course she does, Daniel muttered. But regret doesn't erase betrayal. That night I stood at my window, watching the city glow. For months I had been clawing my way out of darkness. Now the man who threw me into it was collapsing on his own. And Lena, once so radiant, was crumbling beside him. A flicker of pity tried to rise inside me, but I crushed it. She chose him, I whispered to myself. She chose this. Then I turned away from the glass, back to my desk piled high with contracts and plans. My company was thriving. My future was mine again. And as Reynolds' empire cracked piece by piece, I knew the tables were finally turning. The call came unexpectedly. We'd like to meet, the voice said. The board believes you could stabilize Reynolds' company. I sat in silence for a beat. You want me to take over his empire? Yes, the man replied. It's crumbling. We need someone credible. That's you. When I hung up, Daniel stared at me. Tell me I misheard. You didn't, I said slowly. They want me in Reynolds' chair. He burst out laughing. The universe has a sense of humor. Sophia folded her arms. Not humor, balance. This is the moment you've been working toward. I looked down at my shaking hands. Walking back into that office. After everything? Daniel smirked. Then walk in with your head high. He took your world once. Now it's your turn. The day of the meeting, I stood before the towering building I once left in shame. My reflection in the glass doors stared back at me, steadier, colder, no longer broken. Daniel whispered, You ready? I nodded. More than ready. Inside, the boardroom buzzed with tense voices. Reynolds sat slumped at the end of the table, lines carved deep into his face. Gone was the polished charm. Only exhaustion remained. Beside him, Lena sat stiffly, eyes rimmed with shadows. The chairman spoke. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. Our company is in crisis. We propose installing new leadership. Another director chimed in. We believe he gestured at me, is the one who can restore credibility. Reynolds' head snapped up. Him? His voice cracked. This nobody? This traitor? I met his glare calmly. No betrayal here. Just survival. You don't deserve this seat, he spat. Sophia, seated behind me, interjected smoothly. What he deserves is irrelevant. What matters is results. And your results, Mr. Reynolds, speak for themselves. The chairman raised his hand. Enough, we'll vote. As ballots were cast, the silence was deafening. Lena shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting between us. I kept mine fixed forward. One by one, the results were read aloud. In favor. Another. In favor. And another. Finally, the chairman said, The decision is clear. The board votes to remove Mr. Reynolds and install... He looked directly at me. You. The room exhaled in unison. Reynolds staggered to his feet. You can't do this to me. It's done, the chairman said coldly. Step down. Reynolds turned to me, desperation bleeding through his voice. You think you've won? You're nothing without her. Without me. I stood, my silence cutting deeper than any words. Lena finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry. I looked at her then, really looked. The glow she once carried was gone, replaced with regret etched across her face. She searched for something in my eyes. Forgiveness, anger, maybe even love. I gave her nothing. Daniel leaned close and murmured, Say something, man. I shook my head. Silence was heavier. Silence was power. Reynolds slammed his fists on the table. This isn't over, the chairman replied coolly. It already is. I turned toward the window, watching the city skyline stretch wide and endless. The same city that had watched me fall was now watching me rise. Behind me, voices swirled, accusations, apologies, plans for transition, but I let them fade. At last, Reynolds stumbled out of the room, Lena trailing behind him. Just before leaving, she glanced back one final time. Her lips trembled as though she wanted to speak. But I stayed still, wordless.
She lowered her eyes and walked away. Daniel broke the silence.
You didn't say a single thing. I finally exhaled. Because I didn't need to. Sophia smiled faintly. Exactly. Silence can scream louder than rage. The chairman approached, offering his hand. Congratulations. The company is yours if you accept. I took it firmly. I accept. For the first time, Reynolds looked small. For the first time, Lena looked lost. And for the first time, I felt whole. The knock on my office door was soft, hesitant. Come in, I said without looking up. The door opened and her voice filled the room. It's been a long time, I froze. Slowly, I lifted my gaze. Lena stood there, dressed in a suit too polished for the weight in her eyes. She smiled faintly as if we were old friends meeting again. You look well, she said. I am, I replied curtly. What do you want? She walked closer, pretending confidence. I thought we could talk, maybe. Work together again. I leaned back. Work here? She nodded quickly. I know things have been rough for me, but I still have skills. I can help your company. I can help you, I studied her face. The makeup couldn't hide the exhaustion. Her voice cracked at the edges. You think you can walk in here? I said slowly, as if the past didn't happen. Her lips trembled, but she forced a smile. We all make mistakes. I opened my desk drawer, pulled out a prepared envelope, and slid it across the desk. This is for you, she frowned, taking it. What is it? Your final paycheck, I said evenly. Her hands shook as she opened it. The check fluttered in her grasp. Her eyes widened, then darkened. This is all? It's closure, I said. Nothing more, nothing less. Her mask cracked. Please, she whispered. Don't do this to me. I'm not doing anything to you, I replied coldly. You did this to yourself. Tears welled in her eyes. I was wrong, I know that. I thought Reynolds... Stop, my voice cut sharp. Don't bring his name in here. You chose him. You chose lies. She clutched the check like it might vanish. I thought I was choosing a future. I didn't realize I was destroying mine. I leaned forward. You realized? You just didn't care. Until now. Her shoulders sagged. I have nothing left. That's not my burden, I said. Silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Finally, she whispered, I loved you once. I met her gaze steadily. And you sold that love for comfort. She broke then, tears streaming down her cheeks. I'm begging you, give me another chance. I'll start anywhere, any position. Just don't push me out like this. I shook my head. Second chances aren't owed. They're earned. And you haven't earned one. Her sobs grew louder. Please, I made a mistake. My chest tightened. For a flicker of a moment, memories surfaced. Her laughter, her touch, the promises we once whispered. But I forced them down. We all pay for our choices, I said quietly. She staggered back as if the words struck her. So this is it? Yes, I said. This is it. She stared at the check, her tears dripping onto the paper. I thought you would understand. I do understand, I replied. That's why I can't forgive. Her knees weakened and she gripped the edge of my desk. You were the only person who ever truly believed in me. And I betrayed that. I know, but please, I can't survive without help. I turned my chair slightly, facing the window. Then learn to survive. Like I did, her breath hitched. You're colder than I remember. No, I said firmly. I'm stronger than you remember. The silence grew unbearable. Finally, she placed the check back on the desk. If this is all I'm worth to you, then keep it. I looked at the paper. It's not about worth. It's about finality. She stepped toward the door, then paused. One day you'll realize pushing me away was another mistake. I didn't turn. No, letting you stay would be. Her footsteps faded. The door clicked shut. I sat there, staring at the envelope. My hands trembled slightly, not from doubt, but from restraint. The ache in my chest throbbed, but I didn't move. Daniel entered a moment later. She was here, wasn't she? Yes. He looked at the check still lying on the desk. And? I gave her what she came for. Nothing more, he sighed. You sure you're okay? I nodded. I'm not the one breaking anymore. Sophia appeared in the doorway, her sharp eyes reading everything without a word. She only said, "Good. Don't let ghosts chain you." "I won't," I said firmly. When they left, I whispered into the empty room. We all pay for our choices, and for the first time, the words didn't hurt. They healed. Daniel leaned back in his chair, watching me carefully. "You look different," he said. "How so?" I asked, setting my pen down. "Lighter. Like you finally dropped the weight you've been carrying." I smiled faintly. "Maybe I did," he tapped the desk. "It's strange, isn't it? Reynolds barely matters anymore. The man who once controlled your nights, your fears, your future, now he's a ghost." "He is," I said softly. "And ghosts only haunt if you let them," Daniel chuckled. "You're starting to sound like Sophia." At the mention of her name, the door opened. Sophia walked in, precise and calm as always. "Sound like me?" she asked, arching an eyebrow. "Wise," Daniel said. "Too wise sometimes," she ignored him, focusing on me. "You've built something remarkable. You've taken every wound and turned it into strength. Do you see that now?" "I do," I admitted. For a long time, I thought my survival was just luck. But it wasn't. It was choice. Sophia nodded. "Exactly. Pain tested you, but you answered with work, with vision, with persistence. That's why you're here." Daniel raised his glass of water in mock celebration. "To persistence," I laughed. "To survival. And to more than survival." Sophia leaned closer. "Tell me, what do you feel when you think of Lena?" The question caught me. I hesitated, then exhaled. "Pity, nothing more. No anger?" She pressed. "Not anymore."
She lost long before she walked into my office asking for help.
That was her ending. "Mine is different," Daniel nodded approvingly. "That's how you know you've healed. When their name doesn't burn anymore." I stood and walked toward the window. The city stretched beneath me, alive with lights, restless and endless. "I used to look at this skyline and feel small," I said. "Now it feels like possibility." Sophia joined me. "Because it reflects you. Bright, resilient, unbroken." I turned to her. "Do you really think I've won?" Her eyes met mine without hesitation. "You already did. Not when Reynolds lost, not when Lena begged, but the moment you chose yourself over them." Daniel clapped his hands. "She's right. You don't need revenge stories to prove anything. You're living proof." I felt my chest loosen, a deep calm spreading through me. For so long, I thought victory meant watching them fall. But now I see it differently. "How?" Daniel asked. "Victory means I can look at myself without shame. That I rebuilt what they tried to break. That I'm still standing," Sophia smiled. "That's more powerful than any downfall." The office door opened again and Marcus stepped in. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, holding a folder. "But we finalized the new partnership deal." I gestured for him to come forward. "Good work, Marcus." He placed the folder on my desk. "We wouldn't be here without you." I shook my head. "We wouldn't be here without all of us." Marcus grinned, then excused himself, leaving the three of us in silence. Daniel leaned forward. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if none of it occurred? If Lena stayed, if Reynolds never betrayed you?" I thought about it, the old ache flickering faintly. "If it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am now. I wouldn't know my own strength. So, no, I don't wish it away." Sophia's voice softened. "That acceptance is rare. Hold on to it." I turned back to the window, watching the movement of cars below, the endless rhythm of the city. There was a time I thought I'd never get here, that the pain would consume me. But standing here now, I know, I didn't just survive. Daniel tilted his head. "What did you do then?" "I won." The words felt final, solid, like a seal on a long chapter. Sophia touched my shoulder, and that's how the story ends. "No," I said with a small smile. "That's how it begins again," Daniel laughed. "Always dramatic. Always honest," I replied. The office grew quiet. The hum of the city below seemed to sync with my heartbeat. I remembered the nights I'd spent broken, the mornings I'd woken to emptiness, the years of clawing back piece by piece. And now I stood here, whole. Sophia spoke once more. "Self-worth is the greatest revenge." "I know," I whispered, "and I finally found mine." The silence that followed was not heavy but peaceful. Daniel poured himself another glass of water, Sophia checked her phone, and I kept my eyes on the lights stretching into infinity. I whispered to the glass, to the city, to myself. I didn't just survive. I won, and for the first time, I truly believed it.